What's up, everyone? This is Spathon with another day of government shenanigans, what the federal government has been up to, the agencies, the politicians, the cabinet members, and whatnot. I dig through what the government has been up to over the last 24 hours, and I read it accordingly. Today was a little slow because it's Saturday after all. I mean, there's not a whole lot that's going on over the weekend, really, but that doesn't mean nothing happened, so let's just get started. So from Congressman Greg Steube, serial liar Adam Schiff, architect of the Russian collusion hoax and 2 sham impeachments, yep, I remember those quite well, is now lying about whether he lives to dodge a mortgage fraud scandal. The Constitution requires us to live in the state we represent, but Shifty Schiff apparently claimed Maryland as his primary residence to save hundreds of thousands of dollars, while the Californians he represents are crushed by the sky-high housing costs his liberal agenda helped create. Yep, Shifty Schiff. That's how he got his nickname. Maybe instead of gaming the system, he should fix the dumpster fire that he left behind in California. So let's give this a listen.
But, you notice this. Adam Schiff is trying to downplay his own criminal mortgage probe by the Justice Department for falsely claiming 2 principal residences as his primary homes, meaning one in Maryland where he lived for 22 years with his family. The other is a tiny, less than 7-foot square condo in Burbank, California. What do you make of this? We did back of the math calculations, Congressman. He likely
he hasn't spent one fucking night there either. Not a single night.
By claiming Maryland as his principal residence. It's lower home insurance
Probably couldn't even
costs,
find it on a map.
Mortgage rates, lower state income taxes, and much more.
Yeah, this is a guy who continually lied to the American people on the Russia collusion hoax. This is somebody that is propagandized left-wing conspiracy theories.
A googly-eyed fucking scumbag and a psychopath.
For me, not for thee type mantra.
You can tell by the whites around his eyes.
And he's been lying on sworn papers to try to save some money on his house in Maryland. And it's now a criminal referral to the DOJ. So this is an agency.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started on that shit.
Fannie Mae that has done a criminal referral based on the evidence that they have. Obviously, they wouldn't do a criminal referral if there wasn't evidence to back it up. If you read the facts and the different
CBS canceled Stephen Colbert.
Like 5 or 6 different times over multiple
decades,
to be you,
son.
Saying that was his primary residence.
All right,
when his primary residence should be California, because if you live in Maryland, you can't be the
United States Senator or a
U.S. Congressman in California.
Dude, anybody who votes for Adam Schiff is fucking retarded, in my opinion. I get it. It's probably very slim pickings when it comes to the different types of politicians that you have to choose from, or even some that you could push to run in, hell, in his district. I mean, they're fucked either way. I mean, there's no way that anybody who's conservatively minded or an American patriot, America first, name your buzzword, they're never going to elect anybody who aligns in any way with the right wing in any way, shape, or form. Because everybody on the left, all the progressives, not all, not 100%, but most of them have completely lost their ever-loving minds. And it's really just getting frustrating at this point. Just how day after day, they just get more and more brain dead. It's so fucking annoying. But anyway, I'm just going to move on from that. But yeah, Stephen Colbert was canceled. That's hilarious. I'm going to have to read up on that because I did catch a glimpse of that, but I didn't actually look into that further. You know what? While I'm on it, I might as well just look into it right now. Matter of fact, don't I have another tab open down here? Yeah, I think oh, no, wait, it's way over here. All right. So let's see here. Stephen Colbert canceled. Oh, I just love it. You know what? I'm going to read this on CNN because it's going to be just that much more satisfying. So inside CBS, wait, where did the headline go? There it is. Inside CBS's agonizing decision. Oh God, it's so agonizing. Oh, he's so beloved. He's such an angel, darling child of the progressive left in the media. Oh my God, we're going to miss him so dearly. Dude, he's just going to get a fucking job somewhere else. They're probably going to give him like some, $10, $15 million a year job, being some bullshit political pundit on CNN or some shit. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Agonizing decision, my ass, to cancel Colbert's top-rated late night show. Okay, they might consider it top rated, but how many people are actually watching it? It might be top rated in their opinion, because that's all that is just an opinion, but is it top viewed? Is Stephen Colbert getting millions of views? Actually, I'd be curious to find that out too. Stephen Colbert viewership. Now this is on Brave, so I might not get very accurate. I don't know. I'm not thrilled with the Brave AI. I'm honest, frankly, I'm not very thrilled with Google's either, but average 2.41 million viewers across 13 first-run episodes. despite a 5% drop from April of 2025, retaining the top spot in the 11 p.m. time slot. Earlier in the year, the show averaged 2.417 million viewers per episode as of June 30th. I mean, that's not too bad, is it? I mean, 2 million. Isn't Fox News primetime, aren't they averaging like somewhere between 3 and 5 million, depending on whether if it's like the 8 p.m. or the 10 p.m. slot? Not 9 p.m. is probably the happy medium. I don't know. Maybe things have changed. I'm sure people watching cable TV is just sliding further and further downhill with each passing day. That is crazy. In April of 24, his show averaged 2.5 million total viewers, with 292,000 in the 18 to 49 age demographic for 11 new episodes, maintaining his position as the top-rated late-night program. All right. Well, they said it. So, all right, I'll just have to give it to them. I stand corrected. But why did they cancel it then? If it's so top-rated and there's so many people watching it, why would they cancel it? I don't know. From the outside, the idea made no sense at all. Why would a broadcast network, here, I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger, cancel? And it's not because I can't see. I can actually see extremely well close up. I just want to make it big enough so y'all can read it on your screens, because some people might watch this on their smartphone. So there you have it. All right, so why would a broadcast network cancel one of its best-known shows that ranks #1 in its time slot? But on the inside at CBS, there were several plausible answers to that question. While the Late Show host Stephen Colbert was on his usual midsummer vacation earlier this month, hilarious, CBS executives weighed the pros and cons of canceling the unique but unfortunately unprofitable show. Wow, man, despite having over 2 million viewers, they're not earning any profits. Maybe it's because they're paying him a shitload of money. Maybe they should give him a substantial pay cut, which they probably proposed it, and he probably said, hell no. I don't know, just speculation, just personal opinion, that's all. The cons, quote-unquote cons, were obvious. I love how they put that in quotations. They're so ass-hurt over this happening over in CNN. And as evidenced by the studio audience's boos when Colbert announced the cancellation on Thursday night. Well, yeah, of course, because the big screens above the audience are blinking white and black or red and blue with these big bold letters, BOO, real big on the screen. So, yeah, of course they're going to boo because they're told to. But anyway, however, the pros ultimately won out because according to sources close to the network, The Late Show was losing money, and there was no apparent path to turning around its financial position. It was an agonizing decision, as the executives admitted in a statement, but CBS insiders insist when speaking frankly on condition of anonymity that the move was financially driven, not politically motivated. Many observers have huge doubts about that, given that Colbert has been an outspoken critic of President Trump. Seriously, they really actually think they're canceling Stephen Colbert because he's against Donald Trump? Come on, man. What are they trying to imply that CBS is pro-Trump now? Give me a fucking break. But anyway, I'll link this in the description. I'm not going to get all hung up on that, but that was actually interesting. I'm surprised it actually got that many viewership, or that big of a viewership, despite it being, I mean, CBS or a network TV channel. I don't know. I haven't watched cable in, 15 years, 14 years at this point? I haven't had cable in years, man. And I just can't fathom why anybody else would have one. Everybody's on subscription services these days, unless you're crafty enough to either work your way around it with like YouTube Premium or, well, that's a subscription service too. What am I talking about? But anyway, so Elon Musk said, actually, this was a couple days ago, so this slipped in. Wow. Oh, that's right. Yeah, wow. I can't believe Epstein killed himself before realizing it was all a hoax. And yeah, I made a mention of that the other day. I didn't mention Epstein killing himself and like, why would he do that if it was all a hoax to begin with? But it definitely begs the question. He does bring up a pretty good point. But the point that I brought up yesterday was, why did Ghislaine Maxwell get locked up in prison for 20 years if it was all just big giant hoax? What the hell is she sitting in prison for? If Jeffrey Epstein was the only person that was banging on these minors and he's got, 1,000 victims under his belt that he was single-handedly sleeping with, nobody else, none of the other elites were. It was just Epstein by himself. I mean, is that what they're going to stick with? And if that's the case, how come that nobody is going over to Ghislaine Maxwell's prison to interview her? She's not in like top tier, straight dead lockdown 24/7 supermax prison. I don't think she is. I'm pretty sure she was put into some either medium security or some minimal security tennis resort or some shit that she's spending her time in. So it's probably not going to be that difficult. I mean, unless she is restricted, which I'm sure the Bureau of Prisons, being the federal government, I'm sure they probably did because they don't want her talking to anybody. You would think that would be the person that that the media would want to talk to today, Ghislaine Maxwell. So President Trump said the whole thing was a big giant hoax. What do you have to say about that, Miss Ghislaine Maxwell, who's serving 20 years in prison for sex trafficking minors for years on end? I don't know. I guess I'll just leave it there. I don't really have much more to say about it, but I just saw this today, even though Elon Musk tweeted that out a couple days ago. I just figured it was a point to bring up, especially with that many views. 59 million, in fact. So moving on to House Homeland GOP, new border brief. June border numbers show that border security and interior enforcement are inseparable. More on the Trump effect with Representative Michael Guest and Rep Pfluger Rep Not and Rep Ogles. So yeah, I might click on that, but first I'll check this first. So the border brief, maybe I should make this full screen. Let's see if that'll help any. Nope, doesn't help at all. Doesn't do a thing. All right. Anyway, so for fiscal year of June 2025, the encounters were at 9,036. And June for fiscal year 2024, it was 130,000. Absolutely crazy. And look at this, June for fiscal year 2023, it was even higher, 144,000. So yeah, crystal clear under Biden, the floodgates were open. Anybody could come in if they wanted to. Nobody was going to stop them. They could just waltz right in, no problems. And I mean, even back during the Biden administration, there were activist organizations that were down there telling people what to say if they were to encounter CBP or ICE or Border Patrol or what have you, just some federal agency that's along the border. They were coaching them. They coached all of them on exactly what to say. Trying to seek asylum. Asylum from what? I mean, I would say probably the greatest case that you can make for asylum as far as a country is concerned would be maybe Venezuela. And I mean, I'd be hanging on a thread by saying Cuba, but I don't even really think Cuba should even qualify anymore because they're not exactly war torn. Haiti might be a contender for maybe applying for asylum. But what you're supposed to do, according to federal law, if you're trying to apply for asylum, you have to apply for asylum in the nearest country that you live at, whichever country that is not currently war torn. So basically, your next door neighbor country, whatever Venezuela would be, what would that be? Colombia, and what's on the other side? Is it? Oh shit! It's not Uganda, is it? No, that's probably over in Africa. I don't know. I know that there's 3 little countries that are up in like the northeastern area of South America, and I think one of those borders Venezuela, but what do I know? I'm not very good with geography, but if you're in Venezuela and you're trying to seek asylum, you've got many countries that you're traveling through before you get to the U.S., and you're supposed to apply for asylum in any one of those countries, but technically it's supposed to be the nearest country from where you live that isn't war torn, and they're not doing that. They were just waltzing straight up into the U.S. because they weren't looking for asylum. They were just looking for economic opportunity. They can make a lot more money in the U.S. than they could in the country from where they came from. That's what it's all about. That's all they cared about. So anyway, yeah, so looks like the Southwest border encounters have dropped 93% compared to June of last year. Border Patrol apprehensions between ports of entry at the Southwest border last month decreased by nearly 93% compared to June 2024. On June 28th, Border Patrol apprehended just 136. That's it, 136. The lowest day of apprehension in USBP history. Absolutely awesome. Fentanyl seizures are up, they are up, just 3%. Yeah, they're up. I was about to say they're down, but they're not. They're actually up still. 742 pounds were seized in June, which is 3% higher than the previous month. Not the previous month from the year before, but just from May. But it decreased 48% compared to June 2024. That's where I was getting at. So there were 1,427 pounds of fentanyl that were seized in June of 2024, an absolute shitload. The Coast Guard has seized more than 240,000 pounds of cocaine since the start of the Trump administration. That is so much fucking coke, dude. I cannot believe. I mean, how much coke was America doing in the 80s? It cannot be this much. There's just no way, right? I don't know. Well, I guess 240,000 pounds from January, what was that, January 21st, all the way up till now. Maybe that's not a whole shitload. That just seems like that's probably a lot more than what they were smuggling in the 80s, but maybe not. I mean, it was way, way easier to smuggle coke back in the 80s than I'm sure it is today. You should watch a documentary called Cocaine Cowboys from 2006. That's a hell of a documentary. Absolutely amazing, man. They interviewed the perfect guys to interview for a documentary like that. These cocaine smugglers working for the Medellin cartel. Just these white dudes. Like one of them they both lived in Florida, but one of them was born and raised out in the Florida swamps and shit. Some redhead dude. It was a pretty good documentary. Anyway, so an average of 47,000 illegal immigrants have been deported each month under President Trump. Since January, DHS has removed 600 known or suspected terrorists from the interior. So that's nice. A new Signal poll has found 60% of Americans support mass deportations, including 50% of Hispanics surveyed. Yeah. Doesn't mean that most of those Hispanics are immigrants. Most of them are probably natural-born Americans at this point. And they don't like it because everyday Americans don't like it. They don't like it when people come in here illegally. So where the hell? Oh, yeah, here it is. I at least want to click on the article just to show it. And it opens up in my tab, and that way I'll know to put it in the description because I don't want to miss any of these. June border numbers show that border security, interior enforcement are inseparable. And it's just going to go over in more detail from what that flyer stated, including the statistics down here in the key facts section. So I'll put that in the description for sure. But anyway, I'll go ahead and move on from here. So this is from Senator Jackie Rosen, Democrat, with I'm trying to remember what this symbol was. It's House Democrats, right? I think it's House Democrats, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check. Yeah, or Senate Democrats, not House. Senate Democrats. Senator Jackie Rosen. Yeah, I guess if I fucking read her name, I would have probably seen that. Anyway, being able to work hard and afford a nice place to live is a cornerstone of the American dream, but right now it's out of reach for too many. Congress needs to help level the playing field for hardworking families, including by cracking down on those jacking up housing prices. Yeah, very true. I mean, you can't go after the individual people who are jacking up housing prices. By individual people, I'm talking about homeowners. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to do price fixing on houses now? I mean, if anything, that's just taking more rights away from Americans, and you're just driving us further down the road to communism. I think what they should be doing is they should be going after the local property appraisal offices. That's what they should really be doing, because at least in the state of Texas, I can't remember the guy's name. He's a financial lawyer. Damn. If I remember his name, I'll put it in the description. He's currently suing the state of Texas due to their property appraisal offices they're fraudulently increasing the value, quote unquote value, of large neighborhoods of housing. And he says there's no justification for it. There wasn't an increased demand for housing there. It didn't explode during COVID. It was relatively the same. There was no justified reason to increase the value in many of these areas across Texas, with the exception of a couple. I know Austin, there were a lot of people that flooded there during the lockdowns, and a couple other major cities. Of course, there's supply and demand. I mean, that's a lot of the reason why housing in Florida exploded, because everybody was locked down except for Florida, even though Florida was for a few months at the start of COVID. But, they wouldn't shut up about how Florida's open for business. Come on down. And they did. They all came down. Most of them, well, a lot of them came from blue states, but they didn't flip Florida blue. I was more worried about that than anything back in 2020 and 2021. But they did absolutely just explode the cost of housing here, just because, like in 2022, there were only, 5,000 or 6,000 houses that were for sale across the whole state during the peak of demand for housing in Florida. It was crazy. Like right now, it's like 250,000 houses are for sale in the state. So it's definitely changed, but housing didn't come down. But anyway, in Texas, apparently these property appraisal offices are increasing the prices because they want to take more property taxes from people. That's their excuse. Well, because we need it for the school systems. The school systems are hurting for money. That's our excuse. So we're going to double the cost of a house in the area because, we just said so. Because, the schools, man. Because of the schools. So I don't know if she's going to look into that. I doubt it. I'm sure she's probably talking about individual homeowners. We're going to put price fixes on houses. Actually, what she's probably really talking about is probably issuing subsidies or giving tax credits or essentially paying for down payments. That's a lot of Democrats have been talking about that in recent years. Let's just pay for every new homeowner's down payment. We'll give them 10%. No matter how much the house is worth, we'll give them 10%, which That's not going to incentivize anybody to lower the value of, or the cost of any of their homes. If the government's going to start shelling out money for people to buy their own homes, what would stop somebody from jacking it up to like a $5 million house? I mean, yeah, of course they have to pay the other 90% if we're talking a 10% down payment that the federal government would be covering, but that's not going to help anything. It's just ultimately going to lead to more inflation, higher costs. We need to be driving things down, and dipping into taxpayer money is not the way to get that done. So anyway, so this is from Representative Anna Paulina Luna. This is my representative in Congress from St. Pete, and I voted for her at least twice at this point. No, 3 times. I think 3 times. The first time she ran, I don't think she won. I think she lost the first time. So, but yeah, anyway, that's my rep. So attention, Floridians, this letter is real. If you have received it, please heed caution. Be alert and stay safe. This is crazy, man. This came out, of course, July 17th. It didn't just come out today, but her post was from today. At least I think it was, wasn't it? Pretty sure it was. Yeah, 6 hours ago. Yep. Yeah, I'm trying to keep everything within the last 24 hours. So this is from the United States Army Special Operations Command, duty to warn notification. This message is to inform you of a recent, quote, duty to warn, end quote, notification regarding a potential terrorist threat targeting retired senior officials who previously served in the Department of Defense with roles in the Syria-Iraq theater. The current geographic focus of this threat is Florida. Holy shit. While this threat does not directly target active duty USASOC personnel, we are issuing this notice to reinforce the importance of vigilance and situational awareness. We encourage all personnel to remain alert to their surroundings, both on and off post, and to report any suspicious activity to appropriate authorities. We respectfully request that you share this information with any retired military personnel so you know who are currently residing in Florida. Encourage them to remain vigilant and to report any suspicious activity to local law enforcement. This notification serves as a reminder to adhere to established personal security measures, including maintaining a heightened awareness of your surroundings, securing your residences, and reporting any unusual or concerning behavior to appropriate authorities. For further information or to report suspicious activity, please contact DACID, DACI, U.S. Army MP, or local law enforcement. So that's from Mark A. Katz, Colonel, U.S. Army, USASOC, Provost Marshal. So does this pertain to you and me? No, obviously not. Obviously not. This doesn't pertain to probably like anybody at all except, 10, 20 people? There can't be that many people, high-ranking officials, retired senior officials. I'm sure there were some that retired to Florida, but it can't be more than a small handful. So I'm sure they're all very well aware of it, but it's good that at least the public's aware that there's potential for terrorist attacks that could be happening in the state of Florida. Not over the public. I'm just like a personal act of terrorism. Or no, terrorism's not the right word. Assassination. That's probably a better word for it. But anyway, yeah, so that happened today. Well, 2 days ago, but Anna Paulina mentioned it. So this is from Rep. Pramila Jayapal. I can never say her name. I know very well who she is. She's got a big mouth. She's always on the mainstream media talking about something that doesn't make sense. But anyway, this it says here, ICYMI. I joined Seaport Northwest, which is, I believe it's the seaport in Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. The Northwest Seaport Alliance. Well, the Port of Seattle and the Port of Tacoma. And she said, I joined the Seaport Northwest to deploy their very first zero-emissions drayage truck last week. Drayage. I'm not too well-read on the Seaport lingo, but it's essentially a semi-truck without the trailer, the front end of a semi-truck. And it says, I helped secure $29 million for the clean energy infrastructure to support this project, which will make our port communities less polluted and healthier. These things, they cost about $500,000 new, whereas a diesel truck costs about $120,000 new. So let me just take a moment. I actually planned on pulling all this up earlier, but I honestly forgot. It slipped my mind. But let me just check here. Drayage truck cost for a new one, I want to say it was like $120,000 for a diesel. New diesel. Is that how you spell diesel? Pretty sure. I think so. New diesel drayage truck cost about $120,000, just like I said. So what about a zero emissions one? New zero emissions drayage truck costs. It's like $400 or $500,000. It's a lot. Between $300,000 and $500,000. This affordability gap is a major challenge for lower income drayage drivers who often rely on used diesel trucks that cost around $80,000. Class 8 electric trucks, they cost between $300,000 and $500,000, making them much more expensive than used diesel trucks, which typically cost around $80,000. So the subsidies, programs like the Northwest Seaport Alliance $6.2 million incentive program aims to reduce the upfront cost of zero emission trucks by providing financial support and building charging infrastructure. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's look up the range. I think it's like 200 miles or 250, 300. Maybe I'm wrong. 300. I was wrong. 300 miles. Is that adequate? Is that reasonable? Anybody who has any experience or expertise in this field, one of these drayage trucks, do they typically drive longer than 300 miles in a day? Because at the end of the day, they could plug them in, which I did look that up too. For the ultra fast chargers, you can charge one of these semis, which I find hard to believe, these big drayage trucks. It'll take 45 minutes to an hour to supercharge them with an extremely fast charger, or the average everyday chargers, the overnight chargers, can take like 6 to 8 hours. I mean, I don't know if it's practical. And I did look it up. Where does the port of Seattle, the shipping port in Seattle, where do they get their electricity from? Is it coal power? Because that wouldn't make any fucking sense at all if they did it that way. But no, they actually get like 80% of their electricity. The whole metro area of Seattle gets their electricity from hydroelectric sources. So that's zero emissions. I mean, that's definitely good. I'm definitely all about hydroelectric energy. But still, 20% is coal or natural gas. So they're still using fossil fuels a little bit in Seattle. So let me just take a look and let's see what these things look like, just so you have an idea as to what they look like. If I can bring this up. There they are. So that's a zero emission drayage truck. It's just a semi truck. Just some regular ass looking semi truck. Of course, they have to virtue signal all up and down it. It's zero emissions, 0, 0, 0. I don't know. Like, I would think you'd have range anxiety. Where are they taking these? Where are they going to from the shipping port? That's what I want to know. They're not driving across the country with these things. There's just no way. So it's got to be local. I mean, otherwise it just wouldn't make sense. But for all I know, these trucks, they load the shipping container onto the truck using one of these things, one of the giant cranes or whatever. And maybe they just drive it just down to a warehouse around the corner. Or maybe they just drive it to a part in the port where they just stack it, or they just drop it off and they just move on to the next one. I mean, if that's the case, then yeah, fine, whatever. No big deal. Yeah, get an electric semi-truck. You're not going to put 200 miles on it in one day. But the fact that it's going to cost up to $500,000 is kind of concerning to me. Because are you really going to save that amount of money in the long run? Or is this startup company or whatever company that's supplying these, or is it really just all about making them very happy in the way that they're just lining their pockets, making them richer, as the government tends to do with a lot of these go green startup companies? You know, they promise the whole world will change and become zero emissions. We're all going to live happily ever after, peace and harmony in this magic utopia. And usually what ends up happening is that it ends up costing like 100 times more than they originally thought it would. Then the company just goes under, and the top level people who were running the company end up with hundreds of millions of dollars in their pocket, and they just ride off into the sunset with our tax dollars. So I'm assuming that's probably going to more or less be exactly what happens in this case, but I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, so she secured $29 million toward these vehicles. So $29 million, I mean, roughly they're going to buy about 60 of them. Is that reasonable? These drayage trucks, is 60 going to be enough to take care of business in this port of Seattle? Doesn't sound like enough to me. I mean, it just sounds like just enough to virtue signal. Oh my God, we're changing the environment. We're going zero emissions because we're just so fucking cool over here in Seattle. We know what we're doing. It's all like, ooh, look, it says electric. That means it's like electric. We get electric drayage trucks. All right. Anyway, so after years of work, the Northwest Seaport Alliance announced its much-awaited program to deploy zero-emission trucks earlier this month. The goal of the inaugural incentive program is to clean up drayage. That's going to bother me. I don't know how the hell to say that. The short-haul routes that bring freight containers from ports to nearby warehouses and distribution terminals. Currently, secondhand diesel trucks drive the routes, spewing particulate and other toxic emissions into nearby neighborhoods. Oh my God, it's just so dangerous and deadly. It's probably not that bad. Yeah, trace amounts. Dude, you live in the city. No matter where you live, if you live in an urban area, you're going to get brake dust. You're going to get emissions in some way, shape, or form, no matter what, regardless of where you live. I mean, a lot of people live by the interstate, and last I checked, 98% of vehicles that are on the road today are gas vehicles. Only 2% are electric. So if you live near an interstate, a freeway in Seattle, you're going to be getting a lot of emissions in those areas too, especially depending on which way the wind's blowing that day. So what about them? I mean, it's just a stupid thing to put your for lack of a better word, propaganda on, talking about how, oh, well, we're going to save the neighborhoods because these drayage trucks, they're diesel trucks. Yeah, and so are every other semi-truck out there. I mean, if you live next to an interstate highway, or any highway for that matter, you're just getting semi-truck after semi-truck all day long. And they're all diesel, last I checked. Most of them, at least. So, anyway. Oh, well, figures it's NPR. That's a big shocker. At Terminal 46 in Seattle, guests for the announcement got to hop into a brand new all-electric Kenworth semi. Oh, it's made from Kenworth. Ooh, fancy. A joyful laugh rang out after someone tested its horn. The moment was a long time coming. Port officials selected California-based Zeem Solutions to run the program and build a new charging facility for the trucks. Yeah, how much money are they getting? California-based? Why wouldn't you just stick with a Washington-based company to build the chargers? They've got all of these Silicon Valley level tech companies that are up in the Seattle area, thanks probably mostly probably to Microsoft. They can owe their thanks to, because they've been headquartered up there since pretty much the beginning. Why don't they just have some local do it? Who knows? It's all about who you know and who you rub shoulders with and who gets to collect more money or whatever. Anyway, so Zeem provides a one-stop shop for commercial fleets transitioning to EVs, including charging, parking, vehicle leasing, and maintenance. They offer flat fees aimed at making the switch more affordable. Based in LA, they operate facilities there and in Inglewood. They recently expanded with a new depot near Port Newark, New Jersey, and plans are underway for another in Long Beach, California. I don't know. We'll see if that ends up happening. I mean, it is obviously happening, but what about 10 years from now? Are they still going to be using these big trucks 10, 15 years from now? I'm sure. And I'm trying to think. I think it were electric school buses or something. There was this program where a city spent millions of dollars on something electric, and I want to say it was school buses. And then within 2 or 3 years, they completely got rid of them and said, yeah, that's not really working out. I don't know if it was the maintenance costs that were too high or the range wasn't nearly as long as they were needing it to be. Whatever the case was, I don't know. Maybe I'll look into that. That doesn't pertain to what's going on today, so I'm not going to look that up right now. But I don't know. We'll just have to see how that ends up playing out. I don't really care. It doesn't affect me. I don't live in Seattle, so whatever. It wouldn't be the first idiotic thing that they've done. So the Oversight Committee, the GOP Oversight Committee, to be more specific, breaking, watch the exclusive footage where Annie Tomasini takes the fifth in our deposition today. And let's see, did you ever advise President Biden on the handling of classified documents found in his garage? No, actually, no. I plead the fifth. She didn't say no or yes. She just pled the fifth. Did President Biden ever instruct you to conceal or destroy classified materials found in his home or office? I plead the fifth. Have you ever conspired with anyone in the White House to hide information regarding the Biden family's business dealings? Plead the fifth. Did President Biden ever instruct you to lie about his health? His health, the fifth. And everyone sees through their facade. The American people are demanding answers, not continued silence. So that's interesting. They actually put this video out. I'm glad they did. Let's give this a listen.
Did you ever advise President Biden on the handling of classified?
Wait, hold on. Just real quick. It doesn't tell us exactly who this is. I'm sure a lot of you know who she is. I am not one of them. So I'm just going to take a quick look here. I'm assuming she's just some White House advisor, something like that. Wouldn't surprise me. No, not images, for F's sakes. She's clearly close with Biden. She's an American political operative. Ooh, operative. Well, of course she is. She's wearing a mask. That was her in 2021. I'm surprised that's not her in 2025. She's a political operative who served as a senior advisor, as I figured, and deputy chief of staff. Oh, okay. Well, there There's the big one. She was the deputy chief of staff for President Joe Biden during his administration. A longtime aide to Biden, she became a senior advisor in June of 2023 and added deputy chief of staff duties in February of 2024, serving in both roles until January of 2025. I wonder if she's friends with Tara Reid. I bet they can exchange some very interesting stories between the two of them. Of course, I'm joking. I'm just joking. I hope Tara Reid is living her best life. She's in Russia. I know she really wants to come back to the U.S., but she's apparently getting way too many death threats to do so. If you're not familiar with Tara Reid, she was sexually assaulted by Joe Biden back in the 90s when she was an aide under Biden, who was senator at the time. But anyway, so yeah, here, let's check out this video.
5 documents
I
found in
forgot.
his garage.
Give it a go.
On the advice of counsel.
On the advice of counsel.
I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant
That
to my
means
Fifth
yes.
Amendment rights under the Constitution.
That means I did. Because otherwise you'd just say, no, I didn't.
The record will reflect that Ms. Tomasini
Plead the
has
fifth
invoked
means
the
yes,
Fifth
we all know
Amendment
that.
right against self-incrimination. Ms. Tomasini, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
Do you really think if she said, yes, I did, do you really think that this video would exist for the American people to see? I have a feeling maybe that we wouldn't. Anytime there's damning evidence or anybody confesses to something that's egregious going on behind the scenes, it almost seems like it just never sees the light of day. But what do I know? I mean, if that really is the case, then I wouldn't know because we wouldn't have seen it in the first place.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the
guilty as
Constitution.
fuck.
Ms. Tomasini, did President Joe Biden or anyone else in the White House instruct you to conceal or destroy classified material found at President Biden's home or office?
On the
Yes.
advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question
Subtitle,
pursuant to my
yes.
Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
I did.
The record
I'm sure
will
you did.
reflect that Ms. Tomasini has invoked
Just an opinion
the
of mine.
Fifth Amendment right against
Calm down,
self-incrimination.
Democrats.
Ms. Tomasini, to be clear,
And
are you
you,
declining
cons.
to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Ms. Tomasini, have
I'm
you
scared
ever
of President
conspired
Trump.
with anyone in the White
He won't
House to
pardon
hide
me.
information regarding the Biden family's business dealings?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Sounds like Biden forgot to pardon
The
her.
record will reflect that Ms. Tomasini has
Not that it's
invoked
gonna
the Fifth
matter
Amendment
because the
right
auto
against
pin bullshit.
self-incrimination. Ms. Tomasini, to be clear, are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to
advice of
answer the
counsel.
question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Ms. Tomasini, did Joe Biden, a member of his family, or anyone at the White House ever instruct you to lie regarding his health at any time, including but not limited to in your testimony to Congress today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my
Yikes.
Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Tomasini has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination.
Well, she
Ms.
did say that.
Tomasini, to be clear,
say,
are you declining to
invoking the
answer the
Fifth.
question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Ms. Tomasini,
she's so
is it
guilty.
your intention to decline
You
to
think she's
answer
really
all
gonna see-
questions put to you
or we're gonna
today
get
by
justice
the
for
committee
this?
on the basis of the
I
Fifth
doubt it.
Amendment right against self-incrimination?
On behalf of Ms. Tomasini, I can so confirm.
Wow. Okay. All right. I just noticed. Let me just. All right. So we're here. I'm gonna go back. All right. I had a feeling that I might have skipped over a few, but I'm just double checking here. So being able. Okay. We did do that. We did do that. We did do that. Yes, we did. Okay. That's where we were. All right. Never mind. Yeah. I've got 2 bookmarks. I have one for the government in general, which I'll show. One for officials and politicians and one for the government. And I do have bookmarks on both of them for today. And I didn't want to stay inside one because then I would have skipped a bunch of the others. So no harm, no foul. Anyway, let's move on. That is absolutely fucking crazy. And this was from July 18th. Again, it was 2:16 p.m. So when I was collecting all the information to do this episode for today for July 19th, 2025, which that's today, it hadn't been 2:16 p.m. yet. It was still within that 24 hours, but whatever. So there might be a couple here and there that might be a little over. No big deal. So this one's from 10 hours ago. This is from the House Judiciary Democrats. Donald Trump once promised transparency on the Epstein files. Now he's calling his own supporters stupid and weaklings simply for demanding the truth he once demanded. Why is he so desperately hiding? America wants the truth. Release the damn files. Now, I did read the other day that it appears, according to CNN, more Democrats want to see the Epstein files released than Republicans do, which I found to be very interesting. But for what reason? Do they want to see it so we can get justice for all of the minor children that were assaulted by all of these elites and Epstein and everyone else involved? Probably not. I think the real reason the Democrats want this released is because they think that Trump is on that list. And they think the reason why they're burying it is because it would be very damning for President Trump. But I don't think that's really the case, because Joe Biden was just in office for 4 years and they had all the information in the DOJ and in the FBI. I believe that they probably destroyed everything just before Biden left office and Trump took over, which is why we never got any information to begin with. I think they're just covering up the fact that all of it was destroyed and there's nothing else they can do except say nope, there's nothing here, because there's literally nothing here because it's all been destroyed. Just my opinion. Again, just my opinion. But I think that if Trump was on the list, I think if there was incriminating evidence regarding President Trump that has to do with Epstein, I mean, who are we kidding? They would have absolutely released that because they desperately wanted Kamala Harris to win in 2024. And they had to spin these fake tales of Russia collusion and all that bullshit back in 2016. If they had damning evidence with Trump's involvement with Epstein Island, he flew to the island a bunch of times. They even had, like, Epstein secretly recorded videos of Trump doing stuff with young girls. No, never happened. I don't believe that at all. I honestly can't tell you really why, other than the fact that I think it's all been destroyed. So there's nothing that they can divulge to the American public because there just isn't anything there anymore. Now, I wish they would come out and just be straight up and honest about it, because it's shit like this keeps getting said. Why don't they come out and say that the Biden administration destroyed everything? It's really scummy. It's really sketchy. It's bullshit. And, I'm pissed off about it just as much as everybody else, especially toward Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. I mean, they said they had all this shit on their desk and they were ready. Even Pam Bondi said she had, either thousands or tens of thousands of videos that were too graphic to show the public. And that was in addition to the piles of paper, text, information that they had with all of this evidence gathering ever since they locked up Jeffrey Epstein back, when was that, 2018, 2019? I know he killed himself, and, well, he didn't kill himself, but he allegedly, let's just say he died in 2019. I think it was like in August or something, somewhere around there. But all right, I'll just move on from that. So the Energy and Commerce Committee, which is at House Commerce, about 9 hours ago, on Wednesday, Chairman Rep. McGriffith led a health subcommittee hearing on preserving access to timely and affordable care. It is critical that Americans have access to the care they need when they need it and at the prices that they can afford. Yeah, I agree. And they're not going to get there by just throwing more money at it or by subsidizing this and helping by taking taxpayer money to fund that, getting more people on Medicaid, putting billions more dollars into Medicare and Medicaid. That's not going to fix the problem at all. It just has to, it all comes down to just the cost of healthcare goods and services. It's just way too expensive. It's ridiculous that you go in, let's say you go into the emergency room and you get a CT scan and they bill your insurance company $8,000 for a CT scan. You know how much it costs the hospital to actually take a picture of a CT? A CT scan, including having the results read, including having the nurse wheel you down there, including having the technician or technologist actually conduct the scan. Then they'll send it off to a doctor to dictate it into a report. From start to finish, it only costs the hospital like $120, maybe $150 to do the entire thing, including having to pay the nurse to do so. I mean, they'll take 30, 35, maybe 40 CT scans from that machine daily. These CT scan machines, they last for years and years, 10, 15 plus years. So they're getting probably hundreds of thousands of scans in that machine, because the first thing somebody might say is, well, do you have any idea how much a CT scanner costs? It's like $2 million. They're absolutely crazy expensive. That's why they're so, no. I mean, look, dude, if they charge $8,000, hell, I'll even give a more conservative number. If they just charge $5,000 per CT scan and they're running 30 of those a day, that's $150,000 a day. 1 day. For 7 days a week. We're talking $1 million a week for one CT scan. Just one. $1 million a week. 52 million. It's hyperinflated. It's retarded. It makes no sense. It isn't costing the hospital thousands of dollars to take one single CT scan. It is absolute greed across the board. And it's driving up the cost of everything, just by default, really. I mean, if you go and you get, let's say, an IV, how much does it cost to produce an IV? The plastic, the saline bags, the needle, and all that goes into it. What's it going to cost? Like $8, maybe $10 to manufacture all the equipment that's needed to administer an IV. But if you, again, go to the emergency room, or even if you schedule a surgery, if you look at your itemized bill, it's going to show a crazy number for that. $600, $700, $800, $900 just for the IV by itself. And it's ridiculous. And that's really what they need to tackle. They need to do, I don't know if price fixing or price capping, I don't know if that's the answer either. But I think if it were me, I'm not saying I would implement this, but I would at least look into the idea that healthcare providers should not be able to profit more than, let's say, 3 times the cost of the medical equipment, or the industry average or the industry standard as to how much a nurse should get paid per hour, or a technologist or technician or what have you, LPN, CPA, whatever. That's what I think they should do. They should only be able to profit up to a certain amount, as opposed to going back to the whole CT scan thing. They're profiting like 10,000% or something insane like that per CT scan. It's ridiculous. And I think that's what they should do. They should just look into the cost of how much it costs for every single thing. How much is the hospital paying for a bottle of pills or whatever it is that they're having to administer to a patient? And they shouldn't charge the patient or bill their insurance company more than, let's say, 3 times the amount that the hospital paid for those pills in the first place. I think that alone would probably drive down the cost of healthcare for everyday Americans substantially. But what do I know? I'm not in the industry. I'm not in the field. I don't know anything about that. What the fuck do I know? So anyway, let's move on. So Rep. Mike Herodopoulos, and he's a Republican. I know. That's what that means. That means he's a House Republican. So, oh wait, where did it say he was from? Not familiar. Oh, come on. See, if I look at it on my phone, it tells me when I highlight over that. But Florida's 8th district, dude, I should have known that. I'm from Florida. Oh yeah, he's over in Melbourne. That's on the other side. But yeah, so he's a newbie. Joined November of 2024. So he said the last 4 years were a regulatory mess for crypto, and it let the Biden admin chase business out of America. We're fixing that with real clarity. If you're working in blockchain, you'll know the rules, the regulator, and how to protect investors. That's how we lead. And I think this is great. I think it's awesome. Look, for the U.S. to do this, for us to regulate. I'm not too crazy about the idea of regulating crypto per se. I don't know if they're regulating it across the board yet. I've heard a lot about stablecoin. I don't know if that's what they're going to stick with, or if they're really going to start applying federal regulation across crypto altogether. There's a lot of rug pulls. There's a lot of fraud. There's a lot of overt fraud going on. There's a lot of influencers, online influencers, that have taken advantage of people by doing these rug pull schemes. Who was it? Jake Paul or Logan Paul? One of those two. They did that crypto zoo bullshit. Made off with millions. Another guy, his name is Ice Poseidon. He's some live streamer. I don't even know where he was, on TikTok or something, or maybe he was on Twitch or whatever. But he did the same thing. He launched a crypto scheme and he rug pulled it, and he made off with like over $1 million. And he was upfront about it. He admitted it. He admitted it on CoffeeZilla's channel. He's like, yeah, I took it all. And then CoffeeZilla's like, well, why don't you return the money back to the people? And he's like, because I don't want to. He was that brazen about it. So I'm not sure how much they're going to regulate in crypto, but I think to some degree regulating it would definitely be a good thing. But for the U.S. to lead the charge in that would kind of set the standard for the whole world as far as crypto goes. The same with this AI stuff, man. Like for Trump to sign, or for Congress to pass funding, that's going to give it, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute. It's tens of billions of dollars that they're going to put into AI, the federal government is. I don't like the idea of the government just giving private companies billions of dollars to build an AI infrastructure. And I'm also not crazy about the government building an AI infrastructure that they are going to control, because that sounds a little Skynet-y, a little, Cyberdyne Systems-y. I'm not crazy about it, but if it helps America in a positive way and doesn't hurt the job market especially, then yeah, so be it. I mean, maybe it'll help us pull further and further ahead of China, most importantly, and other financially competing companies with our government. So let's give this a play.
The market structure bill, Congressman, on that one, I'm curious how much harder you think that's going to be to ultimately get through. You have heard Democrats raise what they see as these concerns, what they frame as conflicts of interest about the Trump family benefiting from their investments in crypto. How do you see that playing out?
No, that's a great question.
Dude, I mean, who is not in crypto at this point, especially in government? You really mean to tell me that nobody in the House, nobody in the Senate, nobody in the cabinet, no top-ranking officials, none of them have crypto? None of them at all. They don't have crypto. Only Trump does. Trump's the only one who's got crypto, according to the Democrats.
Appreciate it, Josh. And what this one is, to me, is even, I think this is even more important, because you have the stable coin. That's important, but you need to have the regulatory structure on top of it, so you know when you're an investor whether you're being treated as a commodity, which the CFTC would regulate, or a financial instrument, which of course the SEC would regulate. And what was happening in the prior administration is that these companies are saying, we want to move these finances to America. They got this kind of blah, blah, blah answer, and there was no clarity. It's the reason why we named this market structure bill Clarity.
Clarity.
You know who's going to regulate you, how it works, and how to protect the investor. I think this is the linchpin of the whole thing. We've been trying to marry these two bills up, that being the stablecoin bill and the market structure bill, because one is dependent on the other. And I think that clarity is important, because when people who have this money, who want to invest, they want to know who is going to be their regulator, as opposed to this nebulous situation that has been existing for the last 4 years.
Yep, fair point. And speaking of which, I was just thinking about that a minute ago. Let me just check and see. I'm just curious to know. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm going to leave this up so I can drop that in the description. But here, let me just check something real quick. Nancy Pelosi, how much crypto? I think that's too vague. I might say Bitcoin. I doubt she's investing in altcoins and shitcoins. And all right, so Nancy Pelosi's financial disclosures do not currently show any direct holdings in cryptocurrency. That's actually surprising to me. Her investments primarily focus on stocks and options. Alphabet, Amazon, Nvidia. Of course she's got Nvidia. Fucking course she does. And I bet she bought Nvidia. I'm very vague on the inner workings of Nvidia, but I know that their stock price absolutely exploded like crazy, and I'm sure it's only going to go up now that the federal government's going to throw tens of billions of dollars to AI infrastructure. But yeah, that honestly just kind of surprises me. I figured she would have some Bitcoin or something, which she very well could. It just may not be publicly disclosed or something. But what about her husband? Maybe her husband's got a whole bunch of crypto. Would that really make any difference at all, or am I just wasting my time? I wonder if I'm just wasting my time. Nancy Pelosi husband. What about it? Her husband. Probably same thing. I'm sure it's going to say the same thing. Yep, financial disclosures. Yep, not cryptocurrencies. Mainly, folks, see, there's the word you got to pay attention to. It mainly focuses on it. Their investment portfolio includes major holdings companies and real estate as high as $400 million, dude. These people are fucking criminals. Absolutely fucking criminals. It is absolutely absurd that a congresswoman who makes like $175,000 a year can amass a fortune of $400 million, because they're allowed to do insider trading as long as you're in Congress. I mean, they don't really call it that. They're not so brazen about it, but yeah, there should absolutely be laws against that. And it should be applied retroactively in some way, shape, or form. So that way any members of Congress who had amassed millions of dollars from insider trading, I mean, what other way can you put it? They should be able to have that stripped away from them and put directly into the Treasury. That's just my own humble opinion. So this one's from Rep. Bill Hazenga. Thank you, Fox and Friends Weekend, for having me on to discuss the Genius Act and how it is the foundation for restoring American leadership on digital assets. So this did happen the other day. Yeah, I guess he did sign it in yesterday. I did talk about it yesterday. That was on my episode from yesterday. So anyway, let's give this a listen, see what this is all about. Ooh, full screen. All right. Oh, okay. I thought it was a video. What the fuck? Looks like a video. Oh, yeah, there's no play button. Well, that sucks. Fox and Friends. All right. Well, I thought we were going to get a video out of that, but obviously not. Anyway, I'll just move on from there. Stupid me. But we'll get a video from here, from MSDNC. Congressman Robert Garcia, we have all seen the reports that Donald Trump is somehow in the Epstein files and logs. Oh, have we? Well, then why the hell didn't it come out when Joe Biden was in office? Why the hell didn't the Kamala Harris campaign run with that information? How come they weren't divulging all that information to the American public that they could prove with evidence that Donald Trump was involved with the whole Epstein thing? You think last year would have been kind of important for them to have done that. I mean, they had to fabricate, like I said a little bit ago, they had to fabricate Russia collusion bullshit to try to keep Trump from winning back in 2016. If they really actually had real Trump Epstein files and logs, why the hell wouldn't they have just come out with that last year? Because they're fucking lying, man. He reversed his commitment to release them, and we know he's hiding something. No, I don't think they're hiding anything, because I think it's all been destroyed. If anything, they're covering for the Biden administration, because I think they destroyed everything. So, yeah, if they're hiding anything, they're hiding the fact that our federal government destroyed all of this information. Just my own opinion. Again, just Ghislaine Maxwell. Why is she in prison? That doesn't make any sense to me. We need to keep the pressure on and make sure the entirety of the files are released. Let's give this a play.
Folks in the White House know that right now the attention of the country is on this issue. And it's there because Donald Trump put it there.
Everybody wants to know for different reasons, but we all want to know.
Everyone in his universe, including his family and kids, have been obsessed with releasing the Epstein files. And now all of a sudden we're gaining more and more information every single day that they are now hiding and trying to essentially not have the truth come out to the American public. That should concern every American. We're also now learning...
Yeah, matter of fact, in my episode yesterday, I showed a tweet from Donald Trump Jr., and his response to his dad, saying that he's directing Attorney General Pam Bondi to release the grand jury testimony with regard to the Epstein case. Donald Trump Jr., his response to that was LFG, let's fucking go. So he's excited about that, and I'm sure he's been a very loud voice with regard to releasing the Epstein information. So even Don Trump Jr. wants to know what's going on.
Of course, that during the campaign, Fox News edited a clip to essentially go along with the kind of Fox talking point and Trump talking point about releasing the files. It was edited. The actual full answer was actually only released later on. And the Trump campaign actually promoted that edited version on their own social media and their platforms.
Well, if
and
that's true, release the whole thing.
Is that during that same campaign, Trump, of course, complained and now settled for a significant sum, close to $16 million, with CBS because of what he called a doctored interview with Kamala Harris. And so this continues to get more hypocritical. The questions become, I think, and grow every single day. And we need to keep the pressure on to ensure that all these files are released. Chris, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. We know that. There's video in those files. There's tons of documents, and it's time for the whole...
Oh, I know the Democrats, they just love to see people banging you-know-what, but no, we're not going to see any of that. Dude, this is the Democrats slipping on banana peels one after the next. If everything does exist, and if I'm wrong and they didn't destroy everything, I think if anything, it's going to hurt the Democrats far more than it's going to hurt the Republicans if they actually release all this information. I'm sure there were a lot of liberals and progressives that were visiting Epstein Island than the other side of the aisle. Not to mention, maybe not politicians necessarily, but I'm talking billionaires, these tech giants like Bill Gates and didn't even Oprah Winfrey, or I shouldn't be naming names if I'm not 100%, but I've seen the Epstein list. We've all seen the list. It just wasn't an official list, even though it's probably totally an official list, but they couldn't label it as such. But most of those people on that list, I'm sure they don't donate to Republicans. I guess that's all I'll say about that. But all right, so I'll just move on from there. So this is from the FAA. So if you're into traveling or if you're going anywhere this summer, summer weather can bring turbulent skies. How can you prepare for these mild to severe bumps in the air? Discover simple, effective tips to stay safe and confident in turbulence. Find more travel tips at FAA.gov. And this is a quick clip. So if you're traveling, if you want to try to minimize the potential for getting injured in a plane with regard to turbulence, it's a pretty common sense video. Buckle your seatbelt, stow away your luggage properly, this, that, and the other. I haven't traveled in a while. I don't travel anymore.
Kicks into high gear,
I live in Florida.
Families,
I don't need to travel anymore.
Friends, and adventurers are heading to the airports in record numbers. But even with the excitement of a
despite the fact that inflation has just gone insane and the cost of traveling has gone insane, not just the plane tickets. I mean, the plane tickets probably are not too bad these days, but the cost for hotel rooms, the cost for going out to eat, everything that goes with a vacation is substantially more expensive than it was just a few years ago. But if that's true, which I'm assuming it is because it's from the FAA, this is a government agency, that travel is still breaking records, that just doesn't make any sense to me. People are complaining about the fact that they can't afford anything anymore. They're maxing out their credit cards. They're taking out home equity loans to the point where they're maxing out their home equity loan abilities. And still, travel is still at record highs. I mean, how do you connect those two? That doesn't make sense to me.
There's a thought that can send a shiver down the spine of even the most seasoned traveler. Turbulence.
Turbulence.
Think of turbulence as the airborne equivalent of bumps on a rocky road, caused by shifts in air movement. Turbulence can range from mild to severe. Most of the turbulence experienced at cruising altitudes is mild. Encountering severe turbulence is more rare.
But
pilots monitor weather forecasts to identify potential areas of turbulence, but it can be challenging to predict. Should an aircraft encounter turbulence, pilots report it to air traffic controllers, who then relay that information to other aircraft in the vicinity, alerting those pilots to potential hazards and working with them to find smoother altitudes. While airplanes are engineered to withstand significant turbulence, your body is not. So to help keep you and your fellow passengers safe, here are 3 simple precautions to follow.
3. 1, 2, 3.
Keep your seatbelt fastened at all times, even when the seatbelt sign is off.
For the seatbelt sign.
Parents should make sure their children are securely fastened in an FAA-approved child safety seat or seatbelt.
Well, you better keep them buckled in at all times. Are you kidding?
Pay close attention to instructions from the cabin crew. Return to your seat and fasten your seatbelt when instructed to do so. Make sure any loose items are stowed properly in the overhead bins or under the seat in front of you.
Honestly, that's probably what injures people more than anything. People just having their luggage sitting wherever it's sitting, and turbulence happens, it starts flinging luggage all over the place.
Following these simple tips, you can minimize the risk of injury due to turbulence. Now, enjoy your flight and go have some fun.
Yay! Let's go have some fun. All right, so I'm going to have to pause this real quick because my air conditioner was acting up earlier and I had to shut it off for a bit. So I'm going to go turn it on. So you're going to notice a skip in the music. Sorry about that. I'll be back in just 3, 2, 1. All right, just like that, I'm back. I can't hear the music in the background because I just got my setup in a way that I don't hear it, but I know it's there. It might still be on the same song, but yeah, my AC was kind of on the fritz. I had to give it a break. It didn't necessarily freeze up, but I don't know, just sometimes when the heat of the day, every once in a while, like once a month, the thermostat will start rising, even though the AC is working perfectly fine. I don't know, it's old. Our air conditioner, the outside unit, the AC, whatever the fuck, it's from like 1993 or some shit. It's old as hell, but whatever. You can't stand the heat, then don't live in the kitchen. So that's why I never drive with air conditioning. I have air conditioning in my car, but I never use it because I just prefer having the windows down. I don't care what time of year it is. I enjoy living in Florida. I've been here forever. All right, so this is from the FBI. The FBI plays a crucial role in combating violent crime nationwide. Read this recent round trip of violent crime stories. So yeah, this is some of the more recent ones here. We just bring up this and see what it's talking about. Let me just go back here real quick. So fbi.gov/news/blog. Is it even going to load? I don't even know if that's even going to load. I'll just go to the next one while I'm waiting on that. For some reason, if it even loads. There's no reason why it shouldn't. I mean, it's on fbi.gov. Unless there's something going on. Maybe they're being hacked by Ukrainians or Russians or some shit. I'm just joking. So anyway, Secretary Sean Duffy, the golden age of transportation is now, and the U.S. Department of Transportation is leaving no one behind. Hey, look at this, another video clip.
Whether driving, flying, or traveling by train, no federal agency impacts Americans' daily lives and loved ones more than the Department of Transportation.
No American is going to be left behind.
Crews have been working for repairs for months after Helene caused significant destruction.
North Carolina?
The North Carolina Department of Transportation will now be able to get construction material from
Oh,
the nearby
shit.
Pisgah
You know
National
what? Hold
Forest
on.
earlier
Damn it. Well, I'm just going to have to deal with it. I already fucking played it. My video from yesterday, this is so annoying when the government plays this fucking music because now it's going to get copyright hit. And I'm going to have to, it's going to take like an extra 30 minutes to edit this video now because that stupid song playing in the background, but whatever. It's already fucking
anticipated.
irritating.
Secretary of Transportation
I'll get better at
Sean
it.
Duffy
I don't know.
visited the
What
site
can you
of
do?
the latest sinkhole that shut down part of I-80.
$550 million grant to break ground on this long-awaited project.
$175 million Market Street Bridge replacement project.
$221 million to rebuild.
The deal is the first of its kind in the country. Duffy says this is part of a broader effort by his department to slash regulations and encourage more construction.
Together with President Trump and the entire DOT team, I would hope to usher in a golden age of transportation.
Yeah, and a golden age in our fucking inflation. I mean, how many trillions of dollars is this going to add to our deficit that our grandchildren are going to have to pay for? Did you know that they built the entire interstate infrastructure in, I think it was 20 years or 22 years? Something like 10,000 miles of interstate highway. That includes building the bridges, digging the tunnels, laying out the grade, making it nice and smooth. Plus, for every 5 miles, if I'm not mistaken, for every 5 miles of interstate highway, there has to be 1 mile of straightaway just for a plane to make an emergency landing if it needs to. That's kind of wild. And plus also the mile obviously can't contain a bridge, overpass, or anything like that, so it can make a safe landing without hitting any obstacles. So, I mean, they were pretty smart back then, and they knew how to build shit without it costing billions of dollars. It's just absolutely crazy. It makes no sense to me. I mean, most of this stuff, it's just infrastructure that they're just building on existing infrastructure. I know they have to tear down a bridge and they build a new bridge, but the roadway's already there. I'm sure some of the foundation is probably reused in some way or another. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I just think that the costs are just absolutely just brutally insane in some cases. Costing a friggin' $1 billion to build a damn bridge. It's probably gonna take like 15 years. Although President Trump did say that they were cutting a lot of red tape and regulation with regard to permits and having to pass through a million different hoops in order to get some substantial construction project seen through from beginning to end, because it really shouldn't take 10 years to build a freaking bridge. Everybody's familiar with road construction, no matter where you live. And I mean, you totally know what I'm talking about, where 2 miles or 3 miles of a roadway goes under construction, and in many cases, they're still working on it like 3 years later. It's just absolutely stupid as hell. Like we had US 19. They were working on that when I first moved here back in 2005, and they didn't finally finish that up until 2016, maybe 2017. And they did build like 15 overpasses or something. They essentially turned it into they got rid of all the intersections and they just overpassed all the intersections, because we live in the most densely populated county in the state, and the grid, it's easy to get around. We just have a million freaking traffic lights, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. A lot of stopping and going happening here. All right, so whatever. Anyway, so this is from Director Army National Guard, posted about 10 hours ago. What a competition! The 2025 ARNG National Best Warrior Competition brought out the best of the best, and the results are in. Sergeant Michael Fouts from the Arizona Department of Emergency and Military Affairs is our Soldier of the Year, and Sergeant Luke Cloward from the Utah National Guard is our NCO of the Year. Well done. Your grit, skill, and warrior spirit set the standard for excellence. We're proud, we're fired up, and we are ready to follow your lead. How cool is that, man? That is awesome. Army National Guard. Sweet, sweet. So I guess we're going back to Anna Paulina Luna again, my rep. What was just exposed marks a pivotal fracture in American trust. It didn't just deepen the divide in our country, it revealed the extent of abuse and lawlessness behind closed doors. Not only was it illegal, but it was corrupt to the core. There must be criminal prosecution, and that's in reference to Tulsi Gabbard's post from just the other day. Their goal was to usurp President Trump and subvert the will of the American people. No matter how powerful, every person involved in this conspiracy must be investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The integrity of our democratic republic depends on it. We are turning over all documents to the DOJ for criminal referral. Hell yeah. So that's in reference to this new evidence of Obama administration's conspiracy to subvert President Trump's 2016 victory and presidency. This was big news, man. Tons of, I mean, look at this. This got 13 million views on its own, over 100,000 likes. That's kind of a lot. So from D.C. on Friday, Director of National Intelligence, DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, revealed overwhelming evidence that demonstrates how, after President Trump won the 2016 election against Hillary Clinton, President Obama and his national security cabinet members manufactured and politicized intelligence to lay the groundwork for what was essentially a years-long coup against President Trump. Damn, this is going to be lit. And I really hope that this actually comes out. They really needed to. After this giant fumble that they did with the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, they really need something big, like really big like this to actually be seen through. I mean, we're talking possible indictments. I don't know if Obama can be indicted for it. I don't know. Hillary Clinton, very well possibly. She should have been indicted on a number of things. You know, using bleach bit and acid washing and all that stupid shit that she was involved with. So yeah, very good news. Very, very good news. Potentially. So this is from the U.S. CIS. Joseph B. Edlow begins service as Director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. I mean, it's not blockbuster news. It's not something that you're going to really see anywhere, but I think it was worth bringing up because we now have a new Director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. So they do have an article that I'll link in the description. I'm not going to go through and read it because, you know, it might be a little boring for most people, myself included. The United States Space Force, DYK, did you know we are protecting the GPS and satellites we all rely on daily? Did you know that? See our vital emerging capabilities come to life in a latest documentary. Catch it at a planetarium near you and discover locations here. I'm honestly curious. I did not click on this earlier when I was doing information gathering for this episode. Ooh, they got background music. Hold on a sec. There you go. Let me cut my background music. Go on an immersive journey. Most people don't realize that right now there are thousands of satellites floating around our planet and that our modern day way of life depends on them. Always Above explores how close space is to our daily lives and the role that the U.S. Space Force plays in launching, operating, and defending these assets. This 12-minute visually stunning journey will take you thousands of miles into space. It is an inspiring, immersive experience for people of all ages who have ever looked to the skies and asked, what's up there? Who's getting the money for this, by the way? This is the government. This is the Space Force. And why are they charging tickets? I mean, I guess they should maybe just charge just enough to pay for however much it costs to put this together, but looks like they only have... Wait, hold on. No, yeah, so there's 17 pages. It's only weird. It's weird that they would only put 3 here. I don't know. I'll check. St. Pete area code. Let me see. I hit enter. Is it going to show me or not? Oh, yeah. Okay, it did. It updated. All right. So May 2nd of 2025 to May 2nd of 2026. Great Explorations. I know where that's at. That's our children's museum. So they're going to be showing that there. That's cool. Museum of Science and Industry in Tampa. I've been there before. The Calusa Nature Center and Planetarium. I am not familiar with that, but I'm not too close to Fort Myers. But that's cool, man. They're actually showing it locally. So it sounds like it's probably going to be shown at any planetarium, really. So yeah, there you go. It's only 12 minutes. You know what would be nice? That'd be nice if they actually showed, if you had an opportunity to watch it here, because it's the government. I mean, we should be allowed to watch it from the comfort of our own homes because we paid for it, our tax dollars. So Always Above official trailer. Are they going to show us the trailer here? That'd be cool if they did. See, they're using YouTube. See what
Only a short 62 miles above us is where the cosmic realm begins, and where space plays an important role in our everyday lives. The beauty and splendor of this solar system is shared by all. But for all its wonder, space is not without its challenges.
Oh, that's a problem. China's responsible for a lot of that too. Space debris
must be guarded.
Dude, that looks cool. I could dig it. That's cool. I'm into astronomy. Always have been since I was old enough to read. That's pretty cool. All right, so yeah, there you have it. How do I turn off? Oh, maybe this? Yeah, sound. There we go. Cool. I'm actually kind of lucky I found that. All right, so let me get back to my sound, my background. Moving on to Fox and Friends. Watch, DNI, Tulsi Gabbard accuses the Obama administration of manufacturing intelligence about Russian interference, which we covered it, but this is her on television talking about it.
That doesn't just affect Democrats or Republicans. It's not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue with such significant impact that it should concern every American because it has to do with 100%. The fabric and integrity of our democratic republic. That we had a situation
she
here
has come a long way in the last few years,
months
hasn't she?
leading up to the 2016 election, the intelligence community assessed, and this is what the documents detail, the intelligence community assessed essentially Russia doesn't have the tools, the capability, or the intent to try to change the outcome of the U.S. presidential election. Donald Trump pulls off a historic victory against Hillary Clinton in November of 2016. Even in the days after that election, the intelligence community continued their consistent assessment that reflected the same thing in the months leading up to the election. All of a sudden, in the early days of December, there was a president's daily brief that was drafted. This is put together by the different elements of the intelligence community that reflected that same assessment. Russia did not try to hack the election, in essence. That PDB, that document, was pulled hours before it was supposed to be published for the president to see that following morning. That document was never published until we released it yesterday.
Whoa.
1 day later, President Obama calls a meeting of his National Security Council, his top officials, to be held on what they called a sensitive topic.
Holy shit.
And the results of that meeting, which we released yesterday, and these over 100 documents that talk about in detail how President Obama and his team, he directed a manufactured piece of intelligence that detailed not if, but how Russia tried to influence the outcome of the United States election.
What the fuck, dude? This better see some conclusion. It really should. So this one's a lot longer though, man. 7 minutes 31 seconds. I'm probably gonna have to skip over that one because it's a bit too long. I don't want this to go too long. But if I have time, I'll give it a like. If I have time, I'll see if I can go back and check it out. But I'm kind of running over right now. Yeah, I'm almost an hour and a half in. I got not a whole lot more to go over, but maybe I'll come back to it. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. But it's just probably her going into more detail about what we just watched. But anyway, this is from the U.S. Department of the Interior. Watch the brilliant blue water deepen at Crater Lake National Park, home to one of the cleanest and clearest lakes in the world. This is awesome, dude. This looks so cool. I've never been to Crater Lake, but that'd be pretty cool to check it out. Oh, they don't have sound on it. I figured they would. Very cool. Deep blue. The old Crater Lake. Very cool. Very, very cool. All right, so this is from Chad Gilmartin from ICYMI. It's been another busy week as AG Pam Bondi works nonstop to make America safe again. Supreme Court victory, highlighting deadly fentanyl seizures, visit to Alcatraz, fighting for transparency, and supporting law enforcement officers. So we'll get into this. He goes into detail about each one of these. So this is from Nassau County, New York on Sunday, just this past Sunday. AG Pam Bondi attended the grand opening of the Nassau County Police Training Village alongside Nassau Executive Bruce Blakeman and Nassau County PD Commissioner Patrick Ryder. Very cool. So on Monday, AG Pam Bondi's DOJ secured a 6-3 victory at the Supreme Court to allow President Trump's plan to overhaul the Department of Education to proceed. And he references President Trump's Truth Social post. The United States Supreme Court has handed a major victory to parents and students across the country by declaring the Trump administration may proceed on returning the functions of the Department of Education back to the states. Now, with this great Supreme Court decision, our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, may begin this very important process. The federal government has been running our education system into the ground, absolutely, But we are going to turn it all around by giving the power back to the people. America's students will be the best, the brightest, and most highly educated anywhere in the world. Thank you to the United States Supreme Court. Amen. That's the way it always should have been. The education system in California shouldn't be too closely related to, let's say, Florida or Nebraska or whatever. Every state, there's different types of jobs. It's just a whole different scene. And for us to just be blanket learning all the same thing, it just doesn't make sense. It never has made sense. And we did have the best education system on the planet until the Federal Department of Education was implemented back in the late 70s, I think it was. So that's definitely good news. So also on Monday, AG Pam Bondi issued guidance on implementing President Trump's executive order designating English as the official language of the United States. Talk about clown world. Absolutely crazy that this even has to be done. So, yeah, you can read into that. I'm not going to read all of that, but it's there if you want to pause it and check it out. I don't know, though. It is kind of small. But anyway, I'm showing you where you can look for this. And it's Chad Gilmartin, CA. That's his handle over on X. And moving on, Tuesday, AG Pam Bondi held a press conference at DEA's headquarters to highlight the Trump administration's fentanyl seizures. 44 million fentanyl pills were seized, 4,500 pounds of fentanyl powder, which, by the way, only 2 milligrams. Only 2 milligrams. So that would be 500 doses per kilogram. Am I doing the math right? I think I'm doing the math right. Anyway, 200 milligrams is enough to kill somebody. That's all it takes is 200 milligrams of fentanyl, and that's a lethal dose. So, needless to say, that's a lot. That's a lot of lethal doses that they're seizing. 65,000, I'm assuming, 65,000 pounds of meth, 201,500 pounds of cocaine, which we mentioned earlier, and over 2,000 fentanyl-related arrests. Definitely good news. Our DEA agents are doing historic work to keep our community safe from deadly drugs like fentanyl and dismantle the cartels selling them. I want to remind all Americans to exercise extreme caution. A pill can kill, said Attorney General Pam Bondi. I think we should be declaring war against the cartels. I really do. I think we should have done it decades ago. But for some reason. Also from Chad Gilmartin, on Wednesday, AG Pam Bondi met with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene and Dr. Kirk Moore, or at Moore 22K, whose case was dismissed after facing prosecution for giving patients a choice when government refused to do so. And this is from Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Thank you at AG Pam Bondi for dropping all charges against Dr. Kirk Moore. This is a huge win for medical freedom. I don't know the context behind that. I honestly don't. I'm not 100% sure exactly what happened in his case, but obviously it appears to be good news that she did drop the charges against him, so I'll call it a win. On Thursday, Alcatraz Island, California, AG Pam Bondi, Secretary Burgum, and official FBOP Director Marshall toured this iconic prison, which may once again soon house the worst of the worst criminals. Now, I looked this up on Google the day before yesterday on my first episode that I've done of this type of video, and according to Google, at least, Google said it's highly unlikely that Alcatraz will ever reopen because of the extremely high costs that would involve its restoration and its ability to house prisoners again. And also, Alcatraz can only house about 600 prisoners, less than 1,000, which I thought it'd be able to house like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Now, of course, capacity doesn't really mean a whole lot these days because I'm sure most prisons in America, as well as across the rest of the world, their capacity may be this number, but the actual number of prisoners is double the amount or triple the amount. So just because it's capable of housing 600 prisoners doesn't mean they're necessarily just going to stick with that number. But that'll be interesting if they open up Alcatraz again. I don't know. We'll just have to see, but that would be pretty cool, actually. I mean, unless you hope to tour there one day. If you want to tour Alcatraz, you might want to do it soon. So in Los Angeles, California, AG Pam Bondi met with U.S. Attorney Eseli and thanked USAO of Los Angeles prosecutors for their work restoring law and order. And then also on Thursday, AG Pam Bondi sent a letter to sheriffs across the state of California to demand a list of all illegal alien inmates, their crimes, convictions, and their release dates. Let's effing go. And then on Friday, at President Trump's direction, AG Pam Bondi's DOJ filed a motion to unseal the grand jury transcripts in the case against Jeffrey Epstein. And there it is right there. The United States motion to unseal grand jury transcripts. But will they do it? Will the judge allow it? I don't know. You think Pam Bondi would have the power to be able to do that, but apparently it has to go through a judge, apparently. So we'll see if that actually ends up happening. I don't know. But that's the last of his thread of epic wins that AG Pam Bondi had this past week. It was a busy week for her. So this is from the Homeland Security. Senator, this reeks of race baiting. What makes someone a target of ICE is if they are illegally in the U.S., not their skin color, race, or ethnicity. Secretary Noem has unleashed ICE to target the worst of the worst, including gang members, murderers, and rapists. President Trump and Secretary Noem are putting the American people first by removing illegal aliens who pose a threat to our communities. The senator should be thanking our brave law enforcement, not villainizing them. And that is in response to Alex Padilla. Be serious. A judge literally ordered the Trump administration to stop racially profiling in a ruling last week. These raids are happening in predominantly Latino communities. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe it's because the vast majority of illegals are from Latino countries. Duh.
And then I do want to ask you, because ICE operations are taking place predominantly in Latino communities. Can you
But I wouldn't say that's true. I would say that the media has highlighted operations like
it's
that.
Probably
but we
true.
have operations ongoing throughout the country every single day in communities everywhere. So I would not say that anyone could show that they're highlighted in Hispanic communities.
Judge says DHS must stop race-based immigration arrests, granting temporary restraining orders. All right, well, take it what you will, but yeah, most illegal immigrants are Latino, so common sense would probably lead you to the conclusion that they're probably raiding certain Latino communities, trying to look for illegals. Now, don't forget that most Hispanic Americans are all about getting rid of illegal immigrants. The majority of them are. So let's move on. The FRA, Safety Saturday, climbing on, over, or under rail freight cars can lead to severe injuries or even death. So if you find yourself around train tracks, this is obviously common sense, but I figured why not just share it. But that actually reminded me of a YouTube channel. He's no longer with us, but the channel name was Stobe the Hobo, or you can find it at HOBESTOBE, I think it is. He was a train hopper from Colorado, and he was also in the National Guard station in Alaska, but he started a YouTube channel where he started train hopping, and he would travel all over the country, usually over the summer. He would make a whole series of it. He would just go from town to town. Obviously, it's very illegal, but he did it anyway. But it was a really fascinating YouTube channel. It was quite entertaining if you're into something different, if you want just a different perspective, especially when it comes to traveling in the parts of America where nobody ever sees. He's there filming it. So it was a cool channel. But he passed away in 2016. He was actually killed by a train because he was walking the tracks. I want to say it was maybe in Massachusetts. It was somewhere in New England, and there was an Amtrak train that was coming at him. So he hopped over to the other set of tracks around the same time that another train that he must have not seen was coming in the other direction, and he got caught in between two trains. Officials believe that his backpack was caught by one of the passing rail cars and threw him underneath, and unfortunately it killed him. It was a really, really sad story, tragedy, and it was just when his channel was really starting to take off, so that was pretty awful to hear it. So moving on to the FBI Most Wanted. The FBI seeks info on the bombing of Alice Chiricanas Airlines Flight 00901 way back on July 19th of 1994. The flight left France Field, Cologne, Panama for Panama City, Panama. The flight exploded shortly after takeoff, killing all 21 people on board. And the reason they're bringing this up is because this is the anniversary, because today's July 19th. So that's why they're bringing it up. So what was that, like 29 years ago? I know my math isn't all that great, but 31 years ago. It was 31 years ago. So yeah, if you know anything about that, I'm sure they're offering one hell of a substantial award. Actually, they probably said it on the flyer, and my blind ass just wasn't paying attention. Nah. Nope, there wasn't. Oh, well, this just leads you to Oh, yeah, FBI wanted, seeking info. So where's the article? Am I missing something? Help us find fugitives. I mean, okay, so it just takes you to the top most wanted list, it appears. Most wanted. Damn, you don't see a woman on here very often. Kidnappings and... Oh, no, never mind. Those are people who are missing. There for a second, I thought that these were all like the top most wanted. That's kind of odd they would put that one there. It's a little weird. So, but anyway, I don't know why they didn't mention it, but I'm sure there's a substantial award being offered for it. Usually on the FBI's most wanted list, it's usually in the millions of dollars, so I'm sure it's a hell of a big reward for that asshole if you can find him, even though it was 26 years ago. But anyway, so Department of State, this week at State, President of the United States, Secretary Rubio, hosted Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, and also meeting with Italy's Antonio Tajani on shared priorities, nuclear cooperation, and new deals with Bahrain. Deputy Secretary of State Landau at American Pavilion in Japan. So that happened this week. Hey, look at that. We even got a video clip.
Welcome to the Week at State.
Welcome. Week of State.
The week began with President Trump, joined by Secretary Rubio, hosting NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte at the Oval Office to discuss peace through strength. The 5% of the GDP defense commitments made by our allies will make NATO ready, willing, and able to meet the demands of a dangerous, fast-changing world. Secretary Rubio met this week with the Italian Foreign Minister, Antonio Tajani. They reaffirmed our joint resolve to address shared challenges and shared opportunities. The Crown Prince and Prime Minister of Bahrain also visited, announcing $17 billion worth of deals that are coming to the United States. As part of the visit,
let's go.
Secretary Rubio signed a memorandum on nuclear cooperation with Bahrain at the Department of State. Finally, Deputy Secretary of State Landau is with the U.S. delegation at the American Pavilion in Osaka, Japan.
Yeah, I covered that yesterday.
Showcases American leadership and excellence in innovation on a global stage, helping to drive investment in the United States.
It's the Museum of America.
We'll see you next time.
All right, yeah, let's go. But yeah, that thing, it's basically a Museum of America. They show on these giant screens, they show all things America, and they even serve American cuisine there too. So, all right. So from U.S. Central Command, U.S. sailors launch an FA-18E Super Hornet from the deck of the USS Nimitz CVN-68 during nighttime operations in the CENTCOM area of responsibility. Is it just, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, so there's 4 images. So there's image number 1. Image number 2, badass. There's image number 3. So he's taking off, maybe, or maybe just landed. Oh yeah, no, he's taking off. He's heading out. Ready to take care of business. So from the ATF headquarters, our sincerest sympathies. So this is a lot more of a somber note that this happened, which is very unfortunate. Our sincerest sympathies are with LASD HQ, the family and friends of Detective Victor Lemus, who was killed in an explosion at the training center. Detective Lemus served with the department for 22 years. He is survived by his wife and 3 daughters. And let me scroll, because there were 3. I know there was another one. I want to see where the original one was. You know, not to give out any spoilers, but actually, I think this is what I was looking for, right? Yeah, here we go. So ATF deployed its national response team to Los Angeles to investigate an explosion that claimed the lives of 3 Los Angeles County Sheriff's detectives yesterday. The LA ATF and ATF NCETR are working closely with LASDHQ and FBI Los Angeles. More here, which I might check out, but also from ATF LA that's from ATF HQ. This one's from ATF LA. Our national response team flew in from around the country and landed in LA early this morning. Their forensic investigation is already well underway as we are looking to find answers for the LASD HQ explosion, victims and their loved ones. So awful tragedy. Not sure what happened exactly, but this is in reference to the 3 who lost their lives, the 3 detectives. The second one is our sincerest condolences go out to LASDHQ, the family and friends of Detective Joshua Kelly Eklund, who was killed in an explosion at the training center. Detective Kelly Eklund served with the department for 19 years. He is survived by his wife and 7 children. And the third is our deepest sympathies are with LASDHQ and the family and friends of Detective William Osborne, who was killed in an explosion at the training center. Detective Osborne served with the department for 33 years. Wow. He is survived by his wife and 6 children. So while I'm on that subject, I will take a look here and see if we can get any specific information, because they may have updated this for immediate release. So the ATF National Response Team joins LA explosion investigation that killed 3 sheriff's detectives. The ATF and Los Angeles Field Division is on scene with the LA County Sheriff's Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, assisting with the investigation of an explosion that claimed the lives of 3 LA County Sheriff's detectives earlier today. Additionally, ATF has activated its National Response Team to deploy to the scene of the explosion located at Biscayudes Training Center at 1060 Northeastern Avenue in LA. NRT provides an immediate and sustained nationwide response capability, typically deploying within 24 hours of notification, with state-of-the-art equipment and highly qualified ATF personnel specializing in explosives investigations. ATF's NRT consists of special agents, certified fire investigators, a forensic chemist, intelligence research specialist, certified explosive specialist, law enforcement training specialist, fire protection engineer, electrical engineer, and an accelerant detection canine with handler. So they're really bringing out the cavalry. I just want to see if they give us any context as to what might have happened. Such incidents. So they're just talking about the cavalry who is arriving to investigate what happened. So past activations included, so series of bombings. So they're talking about other instances when they deployed all of this personnel. But the NRT was most recently deployed to Esperanto, California for an explosion and fire at a fireworks facility. Actually, I think I remember hearing about that. So I was hoping that they would actually give details as to what they think might have happened, but no, it doesn't look like they have, at least not yet. Okay, so I'll go back up and cover what I skipped over. So this is from US DOT Rapid Response. Must watch at CNN's Pete Muntean travels to OKC to get a behind-the-scenes look at FAA News' Air Traffic Control Academy and what Secretary Duffy is doing to supercharge the controller pipeline. Check this out.
Concerns about another dangerous trend, which is the dire shortage of air traffic controllers in the United States. And Pete Muntean is out front.
Ain't good. They pay very well, too.
This is a rare inside look at the epicenter of ending a chronic shortage of air traffic controllers that's burning out workers and delaying flights nationwide.
Probably only getting worse.
Lear 1 Hotel Delta.
Here at the Federal Aviation Administration's Controller Academy in Oklahoma City, students spend months in classrooms and simulators before moving to on-the-job training at towers and radar facilities that are struggling to retain talent.
How bad is the shortage of air traffic controllers in the U.S. right now?
It's at a full-blown staffing crisis.
The latest estimates say the FAA is short 3,000 air traffic controllers.
3,000?
The newest moves by the Trump administration
include
bad. Slashing the time candidates wait to be accepted here and giving them pay bonuses when they reach key training milestones.
We're thinking creatively on how we can supercharge air traffic control.
Changes are working, with the FAA just announcing enrollment here is now the highest it has ever been. The FAA...
Yeah, by the way, do you know how many air traffic controllers there are across the country? 14,000. There's 14,000. So, what? About 20% shortage, give or take? Maybe a little over 20% shortage. Crazy as hell, man.
He says it rejects 90% of applicants, and of the students who do get in, 35% wash out. Even still,
probably because it's difficult as hell, man.
To the test.
This is not an easy job.
You can do this.
There's a reason they pay them so well.
Thanks for the pep talk.
This high-fidelity control tower simulator is the same one used by Academy students. Man. First, I start out by reading from a script in front of me.
Twin Cessna 310 Mike November, Academy Tower, enter left downwind runway 28 left. I already feel my heart rate going up.
Oh, I'm sure.
Get ready.
Stressful as hell.
Golf Kilo ready for departure.
Makes me wonder if in the future, if they plan on replacing all this with AI. I have a feeling that they might be working toward that at some point. Having AI just run all of our air traffic control and, I mean, God forbid, eventually having all the planes running on AI systems. That would be crazy. But see, that's only going to cut more and more jobs. And I really don't like that idea at all.
Then the program throws more airplanes into the mix to the point where I have to tell a flight to abort its landing. Citation 3 Papa November go around. Well, my first go around. How's it feel? Fine. Did I mess something up? Finally, we are fully off script. Challenger 6.
Will they actually show a plane crash if they screw up bad enough?
28 right, line up and wait. How'd I do?
You did really good.
Do you think I could pull this off if I came to the academy?
We'll give you 6 more weeks and you'll be fantastic.
We kept this demonstration fun, though the FAA insists this is serious work in hopes of ending its major staffing problem.
I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't want to,
persuade
people to think that's next year.
How much money?
We still have our work cut in front of us, but we are absolutely moving in the right direction.
You got to tell people what they want to hear,
CNN,
man.
Oklahoma City.
Oh, come on. Why wouldn't they say how much they were getting paid? All right, well, anyway, I've got the information. I know how much they're getting paid. Starting salary for an air traffic controller in the United States starts between $70,876 and $190,552. That's damn near a doctor's salary, making almost $200,000 being an air traffic controller. That should incentivize some young people to get into being an air traffic controller, I would assume. Although it's not easy work. I'm sure it's not easy work. I'm sure it's extremely stressful. I'm sure that they probably have to go through stress counseling and ABCD, all kinds of shit I'm sure they probably have to deal with. But, I mean, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe a lot of people, they got nerves of steel who are working air traffic control. Seems like you'd really have to. So anyway, coming from the White House, trust in MAGA. And, oh, yeah, the FIFA World Cup. I believe that's what that is. I don't watch sports. So, but I'm pretty sure that it had to deal with that. So also the NATO deal, the Faith Luncheon, $90 billion in energy and AI, which I still believe that I still have yet to cover that. Halt Fentanyl Act, also Bahrain, S&P, NASDAQ highs, inflation's down, not down nearly enough. Strong border, Maha ice cream, make America healthy again. The Genius Act, $9 billion rescission, and Epstein unseal request. Watch Press Secretary's MAGA Minute. Yeah, all right. Yeah, we'll give it a watch. See what this is all about.
I see many are trying to imitate our style,
oh my God,
but there's only one MAGA Minute, so let's get to it. This week, the president attended the FIFA Club World Cup Final, hosted NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in the Oval Office, where he announced an agreement to a multi-billion-dollar sale of U.S. military equipment to NATO. The president hosted CEOs and business leaders at the White House for a powerful faith luncheon. He traveled to Pennsylvania to deliver remarks at the Pennsylvania Energy and Innovation Summit and announced $90 billion in U.S. energy and artificial intelligence investments in the Commonwealth. The president hosted the Crown Prince of Bahrain in the Oval Office
Pennsylvania?
and welcomed families who have lost loved ones to the fentanyl scourge in our nation to the White House for the signing of the bipartisan Halt Fentanyl Act, before wrapping up the week on Friday by signing the Genius Act, a massive win for the crypto industry. This week, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ reached record highs. The Department of Treasury posted a $27 billion surplus in the month of June for the first time in many years because of the president's tariff revenue. And core inflation beat expectations for yet another month. President Trump has established the most secure border in U.S. history with record low Border Patrol apprehensions and 0 parole releases in June. And in a win for the MAHA movement, the Trump administration announced that dozens of ice cream companies, representing more than 90% of the ice cream volume sold in the United States, have pledged to eliminate the use of certified artificial colors in their ice cream and frozen dairy products. Also here in Washington, Congress passed a $9 billion rescissions package, clawing back your tax dollars for partisan, taxpayer-funded media and foreign aid. And lastly, President Trump has directed the Attorney General Pam Bondi to move forward with requesting grand juries related to the Epstein files unseal their relevant documents. It was certainly a very busy week for President Trump here at the White House, and we'll see you for next week's MAGA Minute.
All right, well, I could have just started with that video and saved a lot of time. So this comes from the U.S. Coast Guard. Coast Guard cutter CGC Storis' historic voyage continues. Through the dedicated efforts of her crew, Storis arrived in Seattle earlier this week, having marked numerous milestones on its journey northward. As the nation's third polar icebreaker, Storis was acquired to provide near-term operational presence, assure access to the polar regions to protect U.S. sovereignty and support national security as a bridging strategy for Arctic presence. Embodying U.S. Coast Guard transformation through Force Design 2028, Storis will soon continue its transit to Juneau, Alaska for commissioning. Don't miss these latest photos of Storis' voyage, including passing honors with CGC Eagle. Very cool. The third one, huh? There you go. That's the cutter. That's the Storis. There's the rescue zone. Oh, yeah, there they are. A couple guys just hanging out. And there's the last of the 4 images. Well, that's cool. You know, news that you're not going to hear anywhere else. So also, I'm going to go on here to U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, the U.S. Pacific Fleet, and JMSDF, PAO, ENG, Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, deliver Pacific Marines and gear ashore via amphibious assault, launching the next phase of joint training by reinforcing maritime security between allies and partners across the free and open Indo-Pacific. I actually showed a picture of that hovercraft just the other day. That thing is nuts, man. So that's pretty cool. Amphibious, assault vehicle? Is that what those things are called? I don't know. I don't know. That thing is absolutely crazy, man. What? That is so crazy. Look at this giant-ass hovercraft. That's awesome. Awesome, dude. Even has heavy trucks and everything on it. That's pretty freaking cool. Very cool. Yeah, our military is insanely crazy and powerful. It is so cool. So great to be an American. U.S. Department of Energy. The U.S. is back and better than ever. Here it is. This week, President Trump announced $56 billion in investment in energy infrastructure and $36 billion in AI data centers, ensuring the U.S. is ready to lead in energy dominance and innovation, flooding the field with American-made energy. Let's go. They mentioned, Caroline Leavitt mentioned in that video that it was for the Commonwealth. So the $90 billion, is that only going to be in Pennsylvania? Because that's what she made it sound like, that it's just going to be in PA, but maybe not. Either way, I mean, it's not bad as long as it creates jobs and doesn't take away from them, which everybody keeps saying AI is just going to take jobs. It's not going to create more jobs. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be AI support roles, but it's not going to be more than the jobs that it's going to replace, because that would kind of defeat the purpose, really. So, and this is the $90 billion AI investment Trump announced is an economic and, New York Post. He announced it as an economic and national security win. Today's announcement by President Donald Trump that America's biggest companies are investing $90 billion to turn Pittsburgh into a major hub for AI tech is a grand slam. So yes, it is Pennsylvania. But according to the New York Post, it's not the government that's dumping all of this money into these innovations. It says that America's biggest companies are investing $90 billion into Pennsylvania for AI tech development. So that is even a bigger win. That is a mega win. That's a mega win. Anyway, it touches all the bases of Trump's economic agenda: manufacturing, energy, tech supremacy, and it also addresses national security. Love it or hate it, artificial intelligence is here to stay. The capability of the technology is growing rapidly, and it will eventually make its way into every corner of our lives if it hasn't already. I mean, yeah, I use it, maybe not every single day, but I use Grok often. I also use an AI image app that I pay a little small fee. It's only one of 2 subscriptions that I pay for anything and everything. One of those 2 is to make AI pictures because I find it fun. Yet AI requires massive data centers with powerful computers running around the clock. These machines and the air conditioners that cool them have huge energy demands. That they do. By one estimate, data centers just in the United States used 167 terawatts. Holy shit. Terawatts of electricity in 2023. That's enough to power all of America for more than 2 weeks. Damn. And that need for energy will only grow. Oh, wait, by the way, that was in 2023. I mean, AI has probably, triple, quadrupled since then, maybe even more than that. The need for energy will only grow. Data center electricity usage is expected to double in the next 5 years. It'll probably be even quicker than that. This isn't just a question of playing with Grok. The military and intelligence applications of AI are extraordinary, which is why China is trying to corner the market on this field. No, I don't think they're going to now that we're diving headfirst into it. Drone warfare, threat assessment, missile defense, and counter-espionage. The future of conflict will be driven by artificial intelligence. So what? Machines fighting machines. Yeah, you gotta love it. Beijing is already building a network of nuclear power plants meant to radically increase China's power capacity. In fact, China's electricity generation soared more than 8-fold from about 1,240 terawatt hours in 1999 to more than 10,000 last year. U.S. generation has mostly stood still at about 4,000 terawatt hours over that time. Yeah, it's crazy. The amount of nuclear power plants that they've constructed over the last 40 years, you can count them on one hand. It was like 3 or something like that. In fact, maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe it was only 1. Come to think of it, I think it was in Georgia where they just recently commissioned a nuclear facility. But yeah, we need a lot. We need a lot of nuclear energy. If not hydroelectric would be great. Anywhere that we can generate hydroelectric energy. I mean, I think that would be an epic win also. In fact, oh yeah, I already read that. Which is why today's Pennsylvania Energy and Innovation Summit at Carnegie Mellon University is so important. Leaders from industry join scientists and policymakers to reach common ground on the steps ahead. Google, ExxonMobil, and other companies are committing tens of billions of their dollars, not ours, their dollars, to build data centers, energy and power infrastructure, and to expand workforce training in AI. Now, obviously, they're investing this because they're going to get a big return on their investment, or at least they plan on it. Western Pennsylvania is an apt site for this. The first oil well was sunk there in 1859, and the coal and steel industries that built America's bridges and buildings sprung up there too. More recently, the fracking revolution had helped the United States become energy independent for the first time in years. Meanwhile, this new initiative will bring tens of thousands of jobs to an area hit hard by the transfer of industry overseas, which hopefully we're going to be clawing back with tariffs. And it represents the fruit of the MAGA project of reshoring manufacturing to help rebuild the American middle class. President Trump and Pennsylvania's Governor Josh Shapiro and Senators Dave McCormick and John Fetterman deserve shared bipartisan kudos for working together and with industry to make this tremendous project possible. 3 cheers for innovation and unshackling American potential. Amen. Let's effing go, man. That is fantastic news. You gotta love it. Definitely big news. Not sure if they're showing that across the mainstream media headlines. I would not be surprised if they didn't, with the exception of probably like Newsmax or Fox News or, what have you. One America News, Right Side Broadcasting Network. Those are the only ones I can think of offhand. So I already went through that one and that one as well. Secretary Chris Wright, every day this administration is working hard to drive progress forward. The President of the United States wants to see AI plow forward as fast as possible, and energy, the Department of Energy? Yeah. Department of Energy is doing everything it can to make business conditions, investment opportunities, and the intellectual atmosphere one where we can lean in on energy. The House Foreign Affairs Committee. Let's see here. So the House Foreign Affairs Committee for the GOP, the official account for the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, the chairman, President Trump calls it like it is. The Resistance Front is a foreign terrorist organization, and it deserves the designation. When you butcher civilians, you don't get a pass, you get justice. Today, the Department of State is adding the Resistance Front, TRF, as a designated foreign terrorist organization and specially designated global terrorist. TRF, a Lashkar-e-Taiba front and proxy, claimed responsibility for the April 22nd of 2025 Pahalgam attack, which killed 26 civilians. This was the deadliest attack on civilians in India since the 2008 Mumbai attacks conducted by LET. TRF has also claimed responsibility for several attacks against Indian security forces, including most recently in 2024. So they've been designated as a terrorist organization, and that actually wraps up everything. Since I'm going long, I'm almost 2 hours in, so I'm not gonna play that 7-minute video, but what Tulsi Gabbard already said in the first one that I played, I mean, we already got the gist of what's happening, but you can always hop on X and check out everything that I just laid out for you. And if you enjoyed the video, please comment or please subscribe or give the video a like if you're so inclined and generous to do so. And I'll be doing another one of these tomorrow. That's the plan. I'm going to try to do one of these every day, unless there's just absolutely nothing to talk about. But because the federal government employs 5 million people, there's almost certainly always going to be something to talk about. So I thank you very much for watching all the way to the end if you're still here. And I'll see you next time. God bless America.